Hello, what if I told you that I don't particularly like the French? The first thing you might ask is, why? Why would someone hate the French? We can have a back and forth discussion about the topic and all the things that the French has done, from surrendering in World War II to colonialism, and most likely we will agree that the other side has a point. What if I tell you that I'm Asian and I don't like white people? That I think white people are rude, noisy, and way too emotional for their own good? Well, while some of you might have very strong reactions to it, there seems to be quite a consensus that I have a right to speak my mind. Now, instead of telling you that I'm Asian and I don't like white people, I told you that I was white and I don't like black people. Obviously, this is just hate speech and I'm a Nazi that deserves to die. From what the name of my channel might have suggested, I am in fact Asian, which in my opinion is advantageous in the current political climate. I am a strong advocate of nationalism, both civic and ethnic. I believe that white people have the right to think highly of their own people and have that in mind when they make political decisions. The vast majority of my friends are white, and most of them hold moderately nationalistic views. I've also had my fair share of interactions with the alternative right and white nationalist communities, and while their lack of disdain for us Asians may at first come as a surprise, the more you think about it, the more logical it seems to be. When was the last time you heard of an East Asian committing an act of terrorism inside Europe? When was the last time you saw a demonstration where Asians demanded privileges? When was the last time you felt the need to complain that there's a bunch of fucking shinks sitting around on their asses, taking welfare and doing jack shit for society? Most likely you have never had such thoughts, because those things almost never happen. If you look at the statistics, Asians heavily outperform other ethnic minorities, and sometimes even the majority population, when it comes to things like employment and also academic achievements. Why is that? Well, let's begin by taking a look at the average IQ in different countries across the world. East Asian countries edge out a slight lead over white countries, although it's only about 5 points and isn't very significant. On the other hand, third world countries fall a sizable margin below both Western and Eastern countries, sometimes even to the point where the average citizen of such a country would be legally classified as retarded within Western society. This is where most social justice retards like to scream, racism! And how IQ is dependent on education and how African countries do not provide the same opportunities as Western countries. While third world countries do have significantly worse educational systems than Western countries, this do not account for the massive difference in intelligence, particularly due to the fact that education has nothing to do with IQ. IQ is simply logical intelligence and is something you are born with, not a trait you can learn. Within the United States, there is a significant difference in IQ between races, as well as a massive difference in economic well-being, crime rate, and so on. This is where all the cucked retards, or humanists, as they like to call themselves, talk about slavery, discrimination, and all the reasons why blacks perform so much worse than whites. Oh, wait, what about us? What about the Asians? How come we don't form gangs and go around raping people and setting cars on fire? If you look back in American history, you will find that the Chinamen, as they were called back then, I know people consider it to be a slur nowadays, but I'm the Asian, you're not, shut your white mouth and let me talk, because you shouldn't be offended if I'm not offended. The Chinamen were sheep labor imported from, you guessed it, China, and did dangerous manual labor under terrible conditions in return for very little in the terms of pay. The idiom Chinaman's chance was coined during this period, since many Chinese workers died in accidents while working on railroads during the 19th century and had a Chinaman's chance of making it. But Asians are different. Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, whatever, they aren't the same. Okay, here's a picture. Point out which ones are the Chinese. You can't? Well then, let me continue. Asians, and in this case, particularly the Japanese, face further discrimination well into the 20th century. One of the primary reasons why Japanese-American relations broke down during the years leading up to World War II was the rampant discrimination that Japanese immigrants faced within the US. The US government refused to address this issue and basically told the Japanese to go fuck themselves by convincing Great Britain to break off its alliance with the Japanese Empire. This, understandably, upset the Japanese, which in turn built up their navy to challenge American interests in the Pacific. During World War II itself, everyone of Japanese origin within the US were interned in concentration camps because they were suspected of plotting treason against America. So, why haven't this discrimination prevented Asians from succeeding in life? Because they are not discriminated against anymore. Just how blacks and Latinos don't get discriminated against anymore either. Slavery is not a thing anymore, so stop bitching about it. While individuals may hold prejudice, the fact is that as far as the law goes, whites are actually those who are the most oppressed within their own countries. So if we return to the graph about IQ, you get a good understanding why Asians are associated with math and blacks are associated with gang violence. Thanks for watching.